We are back on MorningLine. Our guest with us this morning is Jim Schmitz. We're talking about the transportainment industry in downtown Nashville. It's interesting. We were talking to during the break, Jim, about a couple of things. One, the law with regard to drinking. I mean, you can in Tennessee have an open container as long as the driver's not drinking. Every other state I've lived in, you can't have any open containers. And I always heard that was the Tennessee Vols tailgating rule, so that when these folks were traveling from around the state to go to a Vols game and they wanted to have a beer on the way, you could have open containers as long as the driver wasn't drinking. Of course, the problem with that law is you can just hand it back and forth, and that's a concern there. But that may be one reason why that's allowed. But we were also talking, all right, can you come up with what's next? I was making a list of the vehicles, if there's no regulations, that will soon surface on downtown Nashville roadways. I'm thinking perhaps a hovercraft. I think maybe an RV surplus tank pulling something behind it, or with people sitting on the tank, or some type of armored vehicle. Not to think what that would end up doing to the pavement, but I mean, where do you draw the line if nothing is done here? Because look, a while back, I didn't think we'd see a hot tub on wheels or a tractor pulling a big flatbed behind it, and that's out there now. Where does this all end, Jim?
That's a great question. I mean, I could see duck tours. I could see the amphibious vehicle that could kind of bridge the gap between the pedal boat and the pedal. I don't know. One of the great things about America is that people have a lot of ingenuity. And, I like seeing the free market work its way, and work its magic for people to do things to better themselves. Now that the right to do that does end when you're infringing upon somebody else's rights. So that's where we have to have this conversation and have this collaboration and come to a conclusion as to a way to meet the best needs of the overall community. And where this goes next, I don't know. I could see people, New Orleans style, renting out windows above where these things go by and selling them beads to throw to them. I mean, I could see all kinds of other ideas down the road on something like that.
Well, I think you just has to be some type of regulation. How many signatures did you guys end up getting on the petition?
It's still out there. I think we're approaching 2,500 at this point.
Okay, I know that was one of the targets.
Last number the last number I saw was something like that. But I haven't. I have been, unfortunately, I've been out of town and haven't had a chance to catch up on that today. Okay, yeah, I think it's in that ballpark. So it's quite a few signatures. So give me just your take. We have a couple minutes left in the show, but with regard to the meeting this afternoon, I don't know, are you going to attend? Will some of the members of your group attend? And how do you think that will play out? I don't know. This is a group, commission that I'm not even sure who the members are on it. I have not been part of this. I'm part of an affordable housing commission that I sit on, but I'm not aware of this one and what all's involved. I'm hoping that they will have common sense on this and see that we're really just beginning to have this strong dialogue on how to go about trying to make these vehicles safer, and it doesn't seem to me to make sense to add more to the population of these vehicles. Well, we're just beginning this conversation. Let's go ahead and see what we could come up with, and then you can think about whether you need to add or not.
Sure. So go ahead, hit the pause button right now on this. But then ultimately, this is something the city council is going to have to look at, right? If they want to pass any kind of ordinances or regulations, with what's allowed under state law for them. But that's really where it's going to have to go, isn't it? Ultimately.
There are two ways. I mean, for the pedal tavern situation, yes, that's Metro has jurisdiction over that. But all the others, which quite frankly, I think there are far more of the buses, the tractors that are, pulling wagons, et cetera. There are far more of those. One element that we have not talked about today is background checks and license checks of the drivers of those vehicles. I challenge folks to go out and take a look and watch how many of these folks are scrolling through their cell phones while they're driving in the middle of a Broadway. That's a whole different, but that's clearly a safety issue as well. But we've got to get something from the state legislature to at least allow Metro Council or Nashville in some way to police these.
Yeah, it does seem to me like up until this point, and I think you even said as much in some of the stories written with you before, that it seems like to this point they've been rubber stamping it for the most part. And maybe they have to if there's no guidelines for them to follow on regs. And that's what's going to be interesting about today's meeting as we wrap things up is seeing, yeah, we're all saying recommendation, but they're going to have to give a reason based on what? And they're going to say, well, it's getting too congested. And they're like, well, what is too congested? We don't have any guidelines from the city on whether 30 or 40 or 50 are too many. And I wonder if there may be some legal action that these organizations could take. Say, wait, you're denying us on what grounds? Show me the policy. And I don't know if it'll come to that. And maybe this commission has the power to do it. But we've got to get something on paper in fairness to these businesses so they know how they can plan.
I think that's true, but I mean, just to the same extent that there's not any regulation that they have to rubber, that they. Yeah, they don't have to rubber stamp it. There's nothing to say that they can't. There's nothing that says they can't stop it and come up with something too. Yeah, I suspect that likely will be done. I'll be very surprised if they approved all those permits. Maybe just a few today. We'll see how that goes. But Jim, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. You're a good guest, and it's interesting. I know you care about our downtown, and I like the fact that you're concerned about their business as well as the livability down there and safety. So I really appreciate you coming on today. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it, and I wish everybody the best. All right. Thank you, sir. We'll continue following this story. And have a good day. We'll take a break. When we come back, programming note about tomorrow right after this.